Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Inspired Action. The goal of this podcast is to not only leave you inspired in some shape or form, but more importantly, that you're left inspired to take some kind of action in your own life. Inspiration plus action are a very powerful combination. The Inspired Action podcast is brought to you by Stage Fright Management, which provides cost-effective social media solutions to grow your brand. Check them out at stagefrightmgmt.com. On today's Inspired Action podcast, I have the pleasure of talking with the one and only Josh Butler. In just a few years, Josh has firmly established himself as one of house music's most revered talents. Following the unexpected success behind his debut, Got a Feeling, in 2013, Josh soon went on to pick up multiple industry awards from the likes of Beatport and DJ Mag, whilst releasing on Hot Creations, VIVa and Noir, just to name a few. 2016 saw the launch of his label Origins, with Josh welcoming the likes of Marshall Jefferson, Todd Terry, Robert Owens and Santé, and then scoring his second Beatport number one through his and Bontan standout, Call You Back, in early 2017. Add to the equation remixes for industry heavyweights Carl Cox and Joris Voorn, and it's clear to see that Josh Butler is only getting started.
I think we're live, Joshy B. Typical interviewing a DJ and we've got sound difficulties. So mate, I just want to thank you. Never easy. I just want to thank you, mate, for coming on to my podcast. It was good to meet you back in Feb, was it? You were touring Australia?
Yeah, it was. Feels like yesterday, but it was about 6 months ago now.
Yeah, seems like yesterday. Is there a bit of a delay?
This is a bit glitchy here.
Is it, from your end?
Yeah. Let's see how it goes.
Cool, mate. So yeah, thanks for coming on the show. Yeah, it was good to catch up with you and hang out and watch you DJ when you were here. You're a good friend of my housemate Ollie, and yeah, I just thought it'd be good to get you on to the podcast to have a bit of a chat with you, to see, basically get your backstory and see where it all began, because you're killing it at the minute. You've just done your first Essential mix on BBC Radio 1 at the weekend, which was epic, by the way. And you're sitting like at number 2 in the Beatport charts with your new track Anonymous, which is out in Hot Creations. So I want to go way back, mate. I want to go way back to before you actually started DJing, because I've heard a couple of funny stories about different DJs who have had sort of weird kind of jobs before they started DJing. Like Moby was, I think he was a golf caddy. Richie Houghton worked in a video store.
All right, I didn't know that.
Yeah, back in the VHS days. And Calvin Harris was working in a fish market. So what were you doing? What were you up to, mate, before you started getting into this caper?
I had a string of different part-time jobs, from catering at weddings to working in Argos, things just to keep me ticking over when music was just a hobby. And as I started to get more into the music production thing and realized that there was different ways of making money from it, I started to do production lessons. So teaching Ableton, and making sample packs for other producers. So kind of collecting lots of different drum sounds and producing loops and things like that, and then putting them all into folders. And funnily enough, people pay good money for that sort of thing. So that for that sort of stuff was keeping me going. And then things just started to naturally evolve into more
seriousness.
But yeah, I mean, I went to university for 3 years. Well,
what were you studying?
A lot of the part-time jobs were on the side. I was studying music technology.
Oh, okay. Oh, awesome. Cool. So what was like back then? So like, what was there a moment or an event or someone that actually inspired you to get into the whole world of DJing and music production, or did you just naturally progress into it? Was there any defining moment or defining person or
for getting into it?
Back in the day, like what was it? What was that?
The first memory. Yeah, the first memory that I've got of getting into music production was through my dad's mate, John. He brought over this cracked copy of a PlayStation game called Music. Very basic.
I remember it.
Do you remember this? Yeah. Very basic sequencer that you control from the PlayStation. It was all pre-made samples. I think you could program your own loops and stuff, but I mean, I was nowhere at that level. I was like 12, 13 at this point.
Right.
So I was just basically playing around. It was like musical Tetris in my eyes. It was, you get these blocks and piece them together. And I was just fascinated by it for some reason. Absolutely fascinated. So I'd start making little tracks and then burning them to tape. I remember you go to like your school friends' birthday parties when you're that sort of age, and they've got a DJ playing all sorts of like pass the parcel music, and you know the drill. Anyway, I used to take these tapes to the DJ and say, "Go on, mate, can you give this a spin?" So a lot of them would just say, "Oh, I don't even have a tape machine."
Right.
But yeah, so I was from day one, apparently.
So what progressed? What was the next step after that? Who was the sort of, once you started getting into that PlayStation thing, like were you was there any influences out there? Who were your any, like, who influenced you? Who was like in the world of music that influenced you? Was there any artist like back in the day that was like someone you looked up to?
It was a lot of local DJs at the time, so there was a radio station called Radio City, which had a dance. So that was a big sort of eye opener for me, even though it was on a small scale. They'd play like kind of charty, accessible. And of course, Radio 1 with Pete Tong and Judge Jules at the time. Those sort of dance music radio shows were a big thing. Yeah,
massive. I remember Judge Jules was on was it Pete Tong was it a Friday night back then still? Judge Jules was on a Saturday. Seb Fontaine had a gig, and remember Fergie was on it too at one stage.
Yes, mate. I forgot Seb Fontaine and Fergie were on there.
Yeah.
I mean, it was pretty mainstream avenues, really, because again, I didn't really know about the underground side of things, and I was just taking whatever I could get my hands on.
Yeah. And then did you just start getting into music production, like from like the PlayStation? Like, was there any courses that you jumped into, or did you start self-teaching yourself? What was the next step?
Just all self-taught for years. Right. So from the age of probably 13 to 17, I was just chipping away myself. And it wasn't really thinking about what I was doing, to be honest. There wasn't a goal. It was just something that I enjoyed and something that helped me relax.
Yeah.
So when I was 13, 14, we moved to New Zealand. Mum and Dad wanted to move over to a place called Kerry in the North Island of New Zealand. Very like small, isolated little town, music scene. But in a way, that helped me refine some of the skills that I was learning on the PlayStation and these early, or by that point, it was early computer programs like Reason.
Yeah.
And Fruity Loops.
Fruity Loops, yeah.
So I mean, that it being in a new place and not a lot to do, I was just making music all the time. And a lot of the time was trying to recreate some of my favorites. So I'd sit there for hours. Yeah, maybe not even remixing, trying to get it to sound exactly the same or as close as possible.
Oh, yeah. So just modeling almost. It.
Yeah. Trying to dissect these records and figure out what made them work.
Brilliant.
I think that was a big thing for me, actually. In hindsight, again, at the time, I wasn't really conscious of why I was doing it.
Yeah, good way to do it. Good way to start. And was there any tracks that you really, really wanted to, like any standout tracks that you can remember that you spent months trying to recreate? Was there any of your favorites from back in the day?
Yeah, Robert Miles' Children is one of my personal favorites.
Brilliant track.
I've still got the file for that somewhere.
Right. Was it 96 or 97? Was it in around that time, wasn't it?
It might have been a little bit later. 99.
Right.
Yeah, it was a
belter.
golden era for tracks.
Back in 1999. Loved that era myself. So I did.
Pete, this is breaking up a little bit here.
Is it?
The signal great.
Are you on Wi-Fi or 4G?
Wi-Fi.
Try just the phone 4G. It's probably stronger.
I'm actually on the laptop. But
on the laptop. Okay.
Let me hotspot.
Yeah, see if you can hotspot, see what happens.
Yeah.
I'm wired directly into the Wi-Fi here. The joys of doing live stuff.
The joys of technology, eh? When it works.
I know. Let's see what happens. Is that you tapped in now?
No, not yet. Sorry, mate.
That's okay.
There we go.
Frozen. Sorry, guys, technical glitch. The joys of technology. There we go.
Hello, sorry about that.
And we're back.
Okay, fingers crossed.
Yeah, mate, it seems pretty clear now and there's no glitchiness.
There's still a little bit my end, but we'll work through it. It's not the end of the world.
That's all right, mate. Cool. All right.
So where was I? Talking about New Zealand.
Yeah, New Zealand, mate. So you were honing in on your skills over there, and getting Robert Miles down pat. So what happened after that?
Yes. So I was also bought my first pair of decks over there, and as we were getting to the age of like 16, people in school started to throw parties because there was no nightclubs, no social clubs, but people had quite a bit of land where we lived.
Right.
A lot of farmers. So they'd throw these basically like on a small scale. So it was kind of like 16th birthdays / illegal party in a field or in a barn. And as people in school realized that I had a pair of decks, they'd start to ask me to come and DJ for them.
Right. And what kind of music were you throwing out back then?
So I had to play really whatever they wanted. So mainly because they were paying me before. So I'd say, tell me the kind of music that you're into. I'll burn a load of CDs. And then I'd pack the car with this like PA system that I bought, cheap pair of speakers and an amplifier. But they were pretty hefty. They did the trick. A lot of hip hop. They were into the West Coast hip hop in New Zealand.
Yeah, the Kiwis love that.
So I'd
sort of vibe.
Yeah. Lots of like chilled out coast vibes.
Right.
And then I'd start throwing in a bit of trance and house just to try and keep myself sweet as well.
So how long did you stay in New Zealand for? What was your next move after that?
I left at the age of 17. So
and back to England?
That was back to England to start college. You know, as you're approaching the end of school and it's your parents are saying, what do you want to do with yourself? I started looking into college courses. Yeah. I found this music technology one, which was just, you know, for me, music was everything at this point. I was always making music, doing these little gigs, listening to a lot of music from the UK as well. You know, the UK has always been the home of dance music, in my opinion.
Oh, big time.
So it kind of made sense just to make the move and come back to the UK. I came back on my own at first and lived with my granddad for a few years. I say a few years, maybe 18 months.
A few months then.
My parents were going through a divorce at that point. And then my mum and brother eventually came back to the UK as well. But in that time, I'd started college, meeting like-minded people, which was quite new for me. I never really knew anyone in New Zealand that was into music, or even dance music, really.
Yeah. And what age were you at that time?
I was 17.
17. So did you just start clubbing then? Was that whenever you started hitting the clubs?
Yeah, as soon as I got back to the UK. And so I live in a place called Warrington, which is right in between Manchester and Liverpool. So it's quite spoilt for nightlife.
Yeah.
And going from Kerry to having two major cities was very inspirational.
So you've got Cream, Liverpool, and Sankey's in Manchester.
That's it. Yeah, and the Warehouse project was starting to kick off then as well. It was an exciting time. You know, sneaking into nightclubs, and it weren't quite 18 yet. But meeting up with all my old friends and people who were interested in music and the music industry.
Yeah.
It was a very inspiring time.
Yeah. And what happened? So you were at clubbing with your mates, and the music was you were learning the music in the background. When was it that you sort of like got this feeling like I'm going to give this 100%? Was there a pivot in time or?
College and getting to know some of the college tutors, and it got to the point where they were teaching stuff that I already knew myself a few years before.
Because you were
and
self-taught.
So they were obviously, and which I didn't realize was going to be the case. I didn't really know how much I knew at that point.
Right.
And so the tutors always recognized something, and they were always very impressed with what I was doing and the tunes that I was making on Reason and Cubase at that time as well.
Yeah.
And so I guess that. Sorry, mate.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying that was kind of the point where I thought, okay, so there's definitely something there. I've obviously got some sort of talent for this. I've moved all the way back from New Zealand, traveled 12,000 miles or whatever it is. I should probably give this a proper go.
Yeah.
So I did 3 years at college. Everything from the basics of sound to wiring a studio. And then, at the end of that 3 years, it was, do you want to go to university? So that kind of seemed like the next step, because I wasn't ready to get a job. I definitely wasn't going to get a job in music at that point, because I would have only been 19. So it was like, okay, well, another 3 years at university might be just what I need to really make the most of, and make something of it, make more contacts as well.
Yeah. So you studied music then at university, I take it, some sort of course?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So music technology again, but in Leeds. It was a Bachelor's of Science degree. So there was lots of acoustics and more like building synthesizers, and it was a lot more technical than the college course was, a lot more in depth. There wasn't really any at the university, but it was a great opportunity for learning time management, meeting people in the music industry, and going to more nightclubs really, and partying with people, to know people in the same situation as me.
So what was your favorite nightclub back in the day?
Mint Club in Leeds has always been
right. It's
it's only a small little place. Oh, you should do it, mate. If you're back in the UK, I'll take you.
I'm still recovering from our last night out, Josh. 6 months ago. Happy days. So you finished uni, and what was the next step in your progression, mate, to where you are today?
So the was kind of where I started with this conversation with teaching Ableton and engineering for people. So people would come into my little home studio with an idea for a track. Couldn't necessarily finish the whole thing themselves, so I'd help them utilize the idea, get things down on paper, help create the finished product.
Yeah.
So for a while, that combined with some polishing before was paying the bills.
And did you like master tracks? Did you do everything, the end-to-end stuff in the studio?
Yeah, that's it. I was trying to do as much as possible, really. Yeah, trying to make a living, something that I knew, because I was making my own music as well. Yeah, sending music out to labels, but it was difficult. There wasn't really. I had a few small sign-ins here and there, but nothing that was going to change the world. Yeah. So the engineering, the sample packs, and working for other people basically was getting me by for the time being.
That was your bread and butter at the time.
Exactly, yeah. Randomly one afternoon, I got a phone call from Chasing Status.
Yeah.
Because I was sending demos out all the time. It was just every evening after a day, I'd spend half an hour sending demos to all these labels. Didn't hear anything back for years. And then randomly out of the blue, Will from Chasing Status called me and said he'd heard the demo, really liked it, and invited me down to his offices in London, which for me, at that time was just the next level. I hadn't really spoken to anyone of that caliber in the industry. I hadn't had anything on a label of that caliber signed. So it was a very professionally run label, very switched on. They had an amazing office in Waterloo, which was actually Pete Waterman's old office from the Hit Factory.
Yep.
So as I walked into the office, there was all these gold and platinum discs on the wall of, I think he signed Kylie Minogue and Madonna, Rick Astley, the abundance of all these pop stars.
Yeah.
I've never seen anything like this. I'm just like, what have you brought me into here?
Brilliant.
So that was kind of the next real big milestone for me.
Yeah.
Getting to work with those guys and getting to pick their brains on music production as well as the actual business side of the industry.
Mm-hmm.
Still very valuable lessons to this day.
Awesome. And what was the outcome of that meeting?
We released, for 2 tracks, 2 EP, I think it was a 2 EP deal, or 2 single deals, should I say. The first one was Tory and a remix of the A-side, which was Bontan's remix of Got a Feeling.
Yeah.
They asked who I wanted to do the remix, and Andy Bontan was just starting to take this new name on. And so I suggested we get Bontan on the remix. He's one of our best mates. So they were happy with that. He did the remix, and then it seemed to just take on a life of its own. It was that time of house music really starting to blow up again, because it did have a bit of a quiet few years in the house music scene. So I think the timing was key for that. It was a fresh style, and it just absolutely it gave me and Bontan careers, that track.
Yeah. So that was you hit the next level.
Yeah.
And was it surreal at the time? Like, how surreal was that feeling of going from where you were, like helping other people produce and mastering and whatever, to actually having a track that went to the top of the charts in Beatport?
Yeah, well, it was a relief because I didn't really want to be engineering for other people for the rest of my life.
But did you have like a vision? Did you have a goal? Like, were you aiming towards like what you got? Like, did you imagine that you were going to go there?
Yeah, I kind of did. I mean, I didn't know it was going to happen. Didn't know if or when it was going to happen, but I'd got to the point of making records that I was actually getting quite good. And so I thought, it's possible. It's definitely in reach. So I just kept on working, kept on refining my skills.
Yeah.
Something hit, it's almost like throwing shit at a wall and hoping something sticks.
I know, mate. I do it every day.
I've got thousands of records that I've made over the years.
Yeah.
Some of them that people will never hear. Some of them that have been sent to labels, as I said, and never heard back about. But luckily, this one perked the ears of some certain people, and that one stuck.
It did, stuck well. So you mentioned you learned a lot about acoustics at university and stuff. So just tell us more about your studio setup, because I know you do like making your own noises and different elements to your tracks. So what's your setup in the studio?
Setup's it's a mixture of hardware, vintage hardware, and computer software, basically.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a hybrid of old vintage gear.
Like, give me an example of one of the
which I find really works. So sorry, mate. What did you say? It's quite glitchy still here.
Yes. Give me an example of a piece of the vintage gear.
So I've got a rack of old compressors. I've got a drum, which so all these pieces of software are really warm, and they give things harmonic texture, which you can't really get in a computer. Yeah, because they've got valves in, you can get the valves really warm. Once they've heated up and the sound is passing through there, it really gives something that a piece of software can't add, in my opinion. Yep,
I get it.
So I've got the Drama, I've got a Culture Vulture, and EK Fatso.
And what about the software? Do you use Ableton, or what do you work with?
That's right, Ableton. These days, I find that Ableton it's a perfect balance of where I came from with Reason, and Cubase. It's kind of both program one, in a lot of ways. Anyway, it's very quick for jamming with ideas. You can just quickly, and as a musician, trying to get the initial idea going can sometimes be the most difficult part. And if you've got to sit and program, almost like a code with some things, that I find Logic can be quite long-winded sometimes. It's great for the end, making a record, the detailed process. But in terms of getting ideas down, Ableton is very fast. It's quite a valuable tool.
Yeah, it's quite popular among everyone, isn't it? In the industry.
Yeah, it is.
And is there one favorite piece of kit that you would have that you just think that you could never do without?
I'll probably say the newest thing I just bought. Bought the new Roland TR8. It's called the TR8S.
Drum machine.
Drum machine. Well, this one you can actually load your own samples in as well. So awesome. It's almost like a laptop in itself. You can put all sorts of sounds in there. Yeah, it's great. It's good fun.
Happy days. So, mate, that brings me to Origins. So, where did Origins originate? Like that? Another software glitch. I know one piece of kit that I hate. It's this software that I'm using.
Here he is.
And you're back. Can you hear me?
I can indeed.
Cool. I know one piece of software that I hate is this piece of manure that I'm using. Nightmare. So it is. It's just not cutting. It's just not cutting at me. I don't know. We'll just have to fly over to you, or you have to come back over here and do it face to face.
Yeah, mate. I'm on my way. Yeah, I'll be with you soon.
So yeah, mate.
Origins.
Tell me all about Origins.
Yeah. So I'd say it started off with meeting Kerry Chandler. If we're going to go back to the very beginning of it, the events that I was going to in Leeds, I had booked Kerry Chandler, and I was lucky enough to get to meet him that night, talk to him about some music, and we kept in touch. Funnily enough, it was quite strange. And then as I started to get some bookings myself, we were getting booked with Kerry in a couple of places. So we built quite a good friendship together. And then along the way, started to meet house heroes, Todd Terry. God, yeah. So, I don't know, getting to know these people and figuring out where house music came from myself. People like Dennis was a big influence as well, Dennis Frere. That was the inspiration for the label, to kind of pay homage to the roots of house music and maybe show a younger audience the story, even show them some of the old music that they might not have heard. There's probably 25 years of house tracks that they might have missed, because especially now, people getting into this scene are 10 years younger than me. So it's not just a label, it's a form of education in a way.
I like that. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, and it gives an opportunity for these older guys to reach a younger audience, where I'm sure they could have reached them anyway, but it's a platform to help facilitate that.
Yeah. So, any people we should be looking out for in the future? Anybody you signed to Origins?
Yeah, there's a kid called Ben Sterling that I've signed. He actually did the first release on the label, and he's killing it now. His tracks are getting picked up by Jamie Jones. I was speaking to Ben the other day, and he said Jamie had played 7 tracks of his in one set.
Wow.
So Jamie's set at E in Vegas apparently had 7 tracks of Ben Sterling's in there, which is unheard of, really.
How old's this kid?
I think he's 19 or 20.
Wow. And just to give people context, you're 28, is it?
I'm 28, yeah.
Cool. Wow, 19, and he's getting 7 tracks played by Jamie Jones.
Yeah, it's impressive, you know, because it makes me feel like I was a slow learner. I've been doing this for mate, I've been doing this for a long time.
I mean, you're still a baby. You're 28.
Yeah, but I mean, if you listen to some of the mix downs of his, that it takes a long time to learn how to get your tracks sounding so clean and really punch in a club. Of experience of making records and playing them on a big system.
Yeah, so he does
something can sound great. Yeah, something can sound great. As soon as you take it into a nightclub, it'll sound completely different.
Right.
So he's doing something right anyway.
Happy days.
Also, there's a guy I've just signed called Tommy Vercetti.
Right.
Another UK lad. He's making some quite authentic.
What kind of vibe?
It's got a US vibe to it. It's quite soulful and little vocal snippets here and there. But it's modern, you know, it's not It's not too heritage sounding. It's fresh, but it's got a touch of old school, which is
It's definitely coming back. The old school vibes, like
yeah,
you can hear the 80s and 90s, like with Crystal Clear, even Purple Disco Machine. Like you can hear the vibes that they're putting in their tracks. Brilliant. Like it's just a whole disco revival, isn't it?
that's right. There's a lot of disco stuff around at the moment. Purple Disco Machine's been making some good stuff for a while, actually.
Yeah, brilliant. So, mate, you've played basically every club around the world. Is there any clubs that you haven't yet played but want to?
Yeah, there is. I'm trying to remember the name of it. There's one in Brazil. There's a beach club in Brazil.
Oh,
I think
is
it's
that
called
Voorn?
the Beach.
Yeah, we're just outside Florianopolis. That's on my bucket list. That club, like,
Is it?
It looks
Well.
phenomenal. It's where the rainforest meets the beach. Yeah, it's at Curitiba or something or some. Yeah, but it looks amazing.
Curitiba.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
I think
I've seen amazing things.
Yeah, same. So if you're ever playing there, mate, I'm straight on a flight with you. I'm sure.
Yes, mate.
Definitely, because that's on the old bucket list. And favorite club in the world, and like I know, Thick as Thieves brought you over here recently, and you played a massive set with my good housemate Ollie at Revolver. What was your thoughts on Revolver?
Yeah, that was an amazing night. I mean, I think that night is going to be hard to forget. We're playing for 8 hours that night. But so I did 4 hours on my own, and then me and Ollie went back at the end.
Yeah,
till God knows when.
Yeah, it was a long night, but it was unreal. Like Revolver is just something else. So
it really is. That's for me. That room is one of the best in the world that I've experienced.
Yeah, and
almost because it isn't. Oh, sorry, Pete.
Sorry, go ahead. Almost because it isn't what?
I was going to say a nightclub.
Yeah,
it's like somebody's living room.
A few sofas kicking about.
Yeah, lasers or lights and smoke machines. It's very subtle.
Yeah,
it's less is more, and it's like a house party. It's all about the atmosphere and the music in that place.
Yeah, and the industrial cage. It's like it's edgy. It's such a good spot. Everyone loves it.
Yeah, can't wait to get back.
So when are you coming back? Has Mike been on the phone to any of your people yet to see what's happening?
I think it's looking around the same time next year. Maybe the end of Jan.
Cool. Awesome.
So you've got another 6 months to recover.
Oh, good fun, mate. So, mate, bringing to your Beatport #1, Call You Back, that you've done with Bontan. Like, how was that? Like, that must have been, again, like another double whammy for you.
Yeah, I mean, again, you can't really plan these things. It was never calculated. As I said, me and Andy have been friends for a long time. We've always made a lot of music together. The same as I was saying, where I've made thousands of tracks that will never see the light of day. Me and Andy have made tracks together that will never see the light of day. Yeah. Call You Back just happened to be something that sounded good to us. He played it on, I think it was Boxing Day in Sankey's, Manchester. We finished it around Christmas time. And then he played it for the first time in Sankey's. I went down and he played it as his first track. And the reaction was insane. Like, we really weren't expecting people to sing in such a way. And then since then, we posted the video online. It gained quite a bit of traction and, floating around it. and eventually got released on Origins, and it went pretty much straight to #1 on Beat.
What was the fallout then after that? Like, you two guys, you've done a tour after it, didn't you?
We actually did the record. So we did a tour around a track called Live Your Life that we did with the vocalist from Basement Jaxx. Her name's Vula.
Oh yeah, Vula, yep.
Yeah, so we did a tour around that time. We were just quite busy with our own careers when Call You Back was kicking off. So there wasn't really space for a joint tour. But we are talking again about doing something probably towards the end of this year, maybe early next year, and probably as well.
Yeah, because Bontan was here a couple of weeks ago, I think.
That's right.
In Revolver again, Ollie warmed up for him. It was good. It was brilliant. I only stayed for a couple of hours, but it's, by all accounts, it went off.
Yeah, well, hopefully next time we'll be there together, a world tour.
Yeah.
I mean, the last one was just around the UK. It was the main cities of the UK. But yeah. I think this time, because we've both grown with our solo careers since then, we could possibly visit Australia and the States, some of South America.
Voorn Beach Club.
Yeah, mate. I'll see you there.
Definitely. And mate, you're sitting at #2 with your track Anonymous on Hot Creations. Like, it's been sitting there for a couple of weeks. Hopefully we'll get to #1.
Yeah. I hope so.
What's the response been like after your Essential Mix on the weekend? By the way, if anybody wants to listen to Josh's Essential Mix, it's on Listen Again on the BBC Radio 1 website, and just go to Listen Again and you can hear the Essential Mix.
Yeah, it's up there for 30 days.
Yeah.
And then I'm gonna put it on SoundCloud once that's expired on the BBC website. Yeah.
Cool. So what's the response been like? Like, have you been getting inundated?
It's been really good, mate. Lots of positive. There was a few exclusives in that mix as well. So
there was
some good feedback from the DJs and producers that gave me some music for it. Yeah, mate. It's a tick off the bucket list to do an Essential Mix. They were another big inspiration for me getting into music. When I was discovering, they were kind of the go-to mix. Yeah. To really get a grip on what people are doing. You know, it's kind of like a musical business card in a way. It shows like a portfolio type thing. You know, it's the go-to.
It's really the pinnacle of the industry, in my opinion. Like, I think if you you're doing everything right if you're getting on to do an Essential Mix.
Yeah, that's right. So it's an amazing achievement and something I'm very happy I've done. Yeah,
brilliant, mate. So, we're coming to the end of our chat. Even though it's been technical hell, I still got to answer all the questions that I wanted to ask. And yeah, mate, so I just want to thank you for your time. And where can people find you, mate, if they want to check you out that are listening? So Josh Butler, Facebook, where else?
All the usual social media platforms: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, SoundCloud if you want to hear the music. I think all of the URLs are Josh Butler Music.
Yep.
So obviously you can just search in the search bar, but it's Josh Butler Music at the end of the website.
Awesome, mate. And what's on for the rest of this year? Any big plans? Any more tracks in the pipeline? Back in the studio?
Yeah, a few more tracks. I'm releasing on Poker Flat, which is a German techno label, in about a month. So taking things right underground again, something quite stripped back and minimal compared to some of my other tracks.
Yeah.
I'm going to be doing lots of touring again to Ibiza over the summer. Lots of stuff in America at the moment as well. The North America seems to really kind of music.
Yes. Going off, isn't it?
It really is. You know, I think since the EDM bubble has exploded, people want a little bit more, want to dig a bit deeper for some new music.
Definitely the music taste's maturing a lot over there.
That's right.
Take full advantage of that, my friend.
Yeah, so I think that will kind of take me up until Christmas. And then I'm going to be back with you in Australia just after Christmas.
Mate. Well, we're moving into a new apartment at the end of the month, so you'll be able to check it out. Cool. Okay, Josh. Well, thanks for your time, mate, and I will speak to you soon.
Indeed. Thanks, Pete.
All right. Thanks, bro. Catch you.
We'll talk soon.
All right,
bye,
mate. Bye-bye.